Hey guys, so this quick tip video is going to be showing you how to cut a bolt without ruining the threads. That way, if all you got to work with is a long bolt like this, it's a very simple trick that'll keep you from chewing up the threads. So as you can see, this is a 4.5 inch bolt. Let's just say for this example, we need approximately a 3-inch bolt. And this same trick will work for standard bolts, metric bolts, different grade bolts, anything. So the first step you want to do, I'm going to demonstrate what will happen if you don't do this too. You want to run the nut out of the way on the side that you're not cutting off. So we're going to cut it right here. So you want to leave the nut on this side. I'll show you why in just a second. Now it also don't matter if you're cutting it with a saw, a grinder with a cutting disc on it, a chop saw. Now if you're cutting it with a plasma cutter or a torch, it's probably not going to work because it's going to melt the metal and stuff, and it's just not going to work for that. So let's get this in the vise and get ready to cut this off. And since we want this pretty secure, you can clamp on the nut and the bolt head. That'll keep it pretty secure in there. So there's our mark, as you can see, so let's get ready to cut this. But anytime you cut metal or do any type of machining or even look at a piece of metal, put your safety glasses on. And be aware that close to where you cut, it's going to be hot. Like it starts getting hot like about right here. So you want to let this cool or just quench it in water real quick. So as you can see, the end is very chewed up and there's no way at all you're going to be able to start a nut on this. It's just not going to happen. So there's two things you got to do. Remember, you got this nut up here. This step really depends on how clean of a cut you got. If you got a pretty clean cut, you can usually get by without doing this, but this was a very rough cut. So what you want to do is get the grinder going, and you want to use a pair of vice grips or something to hold this if the bolt's real short. And you want to get in here, you just want to spin it. You just want to spin it and put like a bevel on it. You got to be very careful. You don't want to get it too hot and melt it and just make the situation harder to deal with. And that should be all you need to do, just kind of grind that around. Now they actually have a tool that goes in a drill. It's one of them ads you've seen on TV things, and it goes on here. I actually like seen on YouTube or on the internet. But it goes on here and cuts a bevel like this after you cut it. If you have that, definitely use it just to make it safer and easier instead of using the grinder. But even with this, it still gets stiff right there, and the nut don't want to come off. So you may have to take a wrench and just kind of work it back and forth. And there's a slight chance you may chew up the threads of the nut doing this if it's really bad shape. Most of the time it won't do it. Just keep going back and forth like this until you can thread it off by hand. In this case, the threads are in still good shape. It didn't chew anything up. So now we should be able to just thread this on there, just like that. You may have just a slight bit of an issue getting it to start like that, but most of the time it'll be right on. It will be a little bit stiff. The only way you can get around that is to put a die on it that's the same size. But the only trouble with that is when you try to start it, you take a chance of chewing up the threads and getting it, I call it, out of phase with the bolt. But here's another nut. You may have to use a wrench to start it just to get past that one little rough spot. But yeah, most of the time you're not going to have any issues at all. Like if the nut will come off by hand like this, you know the threads are in pretty good shape. So now if it's going into something like aluminum or something where you don't want to damage the threads, like an engine block or something, you can find where the thread ends right here and take a little triangle file and just kind of dress it up in between the threads. But yeah, that's pretty much all you got to do. That'll save you a lot of time. But that comes in very handy sometimes, especially if you're working with long bolts like this. A lot of people will just buy long bolts like this to have in stock and just cut their own bolts to length. That's a good way to do it. Well guys, I just want to put a little quick tip video up. It's been a while. I thought this might help somebody. So if you got any questions, comments, or suggestions for similar videos, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm not answering all the comments right now, just on the newest videos. So bear with me on that. So thanks for watching guys. Catch you later.